Welcome to the Tech Life Well podcast. We're delighted to have you with us.
Where we make technology simple, thoughtful, and useful. For more insights and episodes, visit techlifewell.com.
If you're leading a business right now, you know the pressure is just immense.
Oh, absolutely.
You have to have a generative AI strategy. But, the real challenge isn't just nodding along in a boardroom.
Mm-hmm.
It's moving from that vague idea of we should use AI to something concrete, like here are the 3 specific budgeted projects we're launching next quarter.
And that gap between the enthusiasm and the actual execution is exactly what we're hoping to bridge today.
Right.
We're doing a deep dive into this really powerful structured framework. It's a generative AI business strategy. And it comes with what's called a prompt pack.
Yep.
It was developed largely through workshops taught by Greg Shove, and it gives you that specific, step-by-step approach to turn general interest into an actual investment plan, something that aligns with your business goals.
So our mission today is really to give you that shortcut. We are unpacking this entire 4-step framework.
The whole thing.
But we're going to spend the bulk of our time on the most critical step, I think, step 2, which is identifying which specific AI projects to even pursue. And that decision, it all hinges on your organization's readiness and, its ambition.
You've got to choose your mode first.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay, so let's unpack this framework. It's designed to be a really clear path, right? From intent all the way to execution.
It is. And it starts by forcing that organizational clarity about what you are actually trying to accomplish with Gen AI.
So it begins with step 1.
Step 1, choose your mode. Are you trying to optimize your internal processes? Are you accelerating existing products? Or are you trying to totally transform the market? That choice dictates literally everything that follows.
And once you've defined that mode, then you get to step 2.
Which is where the magic happens.
And where that prompt pack comes in.
Yeah.
Identify AI projects. This is the structured brainstorming process.
Exactly. It helps you generate those high-value, mode-specific ideas.
And then you move on to step 3.
Which is so often forgotten. Prioritize projects. You have to evaluate the ideas you've generated against, objective criteria risk, feasibility, business impact.
You can't do everything at once.
No, you've got to decide where to put those limited resources.
And finally, step 4 is get buy-in.
Right. This means formalizing your chosen projects into a clear memo that gets you the approval and the funding you need.
It sounds so simple laid out like that, but just having that 4-step structure is what separates a real strategy from, just experimentation.
Well, what's fascinating here is how that first choice, that choice in step 1, it really defines the organizational risk. As you move from mode 1 to mode 3, you're basically moving from low risk, incremental gain
to high risk, but with a potentially exponential return.
Exactly.
So let's just define those 3 modes again quickly. Mode 1 is optimize.
Pure internal efficiency. It's the low-hanging fruit.
Mode 2 is accelerate.
That's where you're putting Gen AI into your existing product or service, so it's external facing, but it's within your current market.
And mode 3, the big one, is transform.
This is the big strategic gamble. You're creating an entirely new product or service, something that, probably wouldn't even be possible without this tech. It fundamentally changes your market position.
The outcome of using this framework, then, is to get concrete ideas that are actually anchored in your company's strategy.
Yes. They become the solid foundation, not just a list of cool tech.
Okay, let's start where I think most companies probably should start. Mode 1, optimize.
Mm-hmm.
The goal is super simple here. Using generative AI to make your existing processes smarter, faster, and cheaper. It's all about internal efficiency.
This is definitely the safest, most immediate return mode. But even here, you need structure.
You can't just wander around asking people for ideas.
Right. The source material gives a very specific approach for brainstorming. It suggests you tell your LLM, your generative tool, to act as an advisor.
An advisor, I like that.
And then generate ideas across 5 distinct capability buckets. So you don't just ask, hey, how can we be more efficient? You target what the AI can actually do.
So let's talk about those buckets. I think the first 2 probably capture what most people think of when they hear AI at work.
I'd agree with that.
So the first capability bucket is ways to use AI to generate code, text, images, or video.
The creative output?
Right, like creating internal training videos or drafting marketing copy or, and this is a big one, helping your IT teams quickly generate API documentation or unit tests.
That's a great point. It's not just marketing, it's about serious internal tooling. And the second bucket is just as critical, especially for, compliance-heavy organizations.
Which is?
Ways to use generative AI to process or synthesize text, image, video, data, or audio.
So legal document review.
Exactly. I mean, think about it. Instead of paying junior associates to read thousands of contracts to find one clause, an LLM can just synthesize the key risks and summarize them in minutes.
That's a massive internal time saving. Huge ROI right there.
Huge.
Okay, so those first two are pretty well understood. What about the other three? They seem a bit more nuanced.
They are. The third bucket is about using the AI to generate ideas or be a thought partner.
OSA partner.
Yeah, this moves beyond just summarizing. It's about strategic support. Imagine an analyst needs to come up with 5 competing scenarios for a product launch.
Okay.
The LLM can act as a non-judgmental sparring partner. It can push their thinking, challenge their assumptions.
So it's less about doing the task and more about accelerating that first creative or strategic part of the task.
Precisely. Then the fourth capability bucket is maybe the most common use case we see right now.
The co-pilot.
Using it to complete tasks as a co-pilot. This is your classic efficiency booster. It can guide an employee through filling out a complex expense form or, make sure a supply chain manager follows all 7 steps in a new process. It's an expert guide, but it's embedded right in the workflow.
And then finally, the fifth bucket. This is about using AI to interact with users. In this optimization context, that's internal users, right?
Yes, exactly. Think of really sophisticated internal support bots.
So not the old FAQ chatbots that never have the answer.
No. Systems that can access and synthesize knowledge across all your internal wikis, HR manuals, IT help desks, everything. They provide personalized, nuanced support for employees. The key takeaway for you here is that internal efficiency isn't just this vague idea. It maps directly onto these 5 core AI competencies.
It's a checklist.
It's a structured checklist for your first round of projects.
Okay, now let's shift gears completely. Let's move to mode 2. Accelerate.
Oh.
We're moving the focus from internal to external. We're looking at the product itself.
Yeah.
And the risk profile, it shifts.
Yeah.
Because now you're putting AI directly into your customer-facing offering.
And this is where the critical difference is. The most valuable insight from the source material here is what we're calling the metric mandate.
The metric mandate. I like that.
When you prompt your LLM for ideas to accelerate your product, you can't just ask for a cool feature.
Right.
The AI initiatives must be explicitly designed to drive specific, predefined company metrics.
So you have to go into the brainstorm already knowing your company's core pain points.
Yes.
Like, are you trying to boost retention because users are churning after month 3? Or increase conversion from free to paid? Or maybe just increase time spent in the app?
Absolutely. If you fail that metric mandate, you just risk adding novelty that, distracts users or maybe even hurts your business.
Can you give an example of that?
Sure. A company might add a flashy AI summarizing feature that increases usage by, say, 5%, but if it fundamentally confuses the user flow, it might decrease your critical conversion rate by 10%.
So you've just added tech debt without any strategic gain.
Exactly. So when you prompt the LLM, you have to be specific. You say, my company has product X. We are trying to drive these 3 metrics, and you list them. Suggest ways to incorporate Gen AI into product X that quantifiably moves these 3 metrics.
You're forcing the AI to act like a strategic consultant. Focus on solving a measurable problem.
Not just feature generation. It has to solve an existing problem within your product ecosystem.
Okay, so this is where it gets really strategic and, well, complicated. Mode 3, transform.
The biggest swing.
This involves launching an entirely new product or service line. It could pivot or just drastically expand what your company even is.
And this raises the one fundamental question every executive has to ask before they even attempt this.
The kiss.
If you're going to launch something entirely new, why do you have the right to win?
Mm-hmm.
You can't just launch a new AI music generator because it's cool. The prerequisite for this transform mode is that the new product must be built on your company's existing proprietary competitive advantages.
The sources really emphasize this. If you don't anchor this revolution in your existing reality,
Yeah.
Your proprietary data, your massive distribution network, your unique talent.
Then you're just launching a startup with the disadvantage of all that corporate bureaucracy.
So let's use that concrete example from the source material. It really illustrates the concept well.
Okay, let's do it. If the company is LinkedIn, what's their competitive advantage?
Their network. It's a massive, verified professional network.
A proprietary network. That data moat is extremely hard for anyone else to replicate.
Okay, so how does that specific asset lead to a transform project?
So the proposed new product is a generative AI-powered matchmaking service
For what?
to match mentors and mentees with highly specific verified skills and goals. This service would be a totally new revenue stream, a transformation. But it only works because LinkedIn already has that essential ingredient.
The data set and the trusted professional context.
That gives them the right to win in that specific space. Nobody else would do it as well.
I'm curious, pursuing a project this big, like launching a whole new business unit, it requires a huge initial investment. It could distract your best engineers from the core business. Is this framework really realistic for, say, a mid-sized company?
That's an essential tension, and it's a great question. Mode 3 isn't just a new tech project. It requires the company to rethink its internal structure, its funding, and most importantly, its appetite for risk.
Okay.
For a mid-sized company, their right to win might not be a billion users. It might be a proprietary access to a really niche industrial data set.
Like,
for example, a specialized pharmaceutical company could leverage its unique clinical trial data, that's their competitive advantage, to launch a new Gen AI-powered discovery tool that they sell to other research labs.
so it's still transformational for them, but it's anchored in their unique expertise.
That anchoring principle is the key insight. When you're prompting the LLM for transform ideas, you first list 3 of your company's unique competitive advantages. Then you ask the model to suggest new product opportunities that leverage those specific strengths.
We've spent a lot of time on step 2, identifying projects using these modes. And since we're relying on these conversational LLMs, we have to talk about the practical tips for getting the most out of that dialogue.
Yeah, you have to treat it like a real partnership. It's not a search query.
Right. And to stop the LLM from just, spitting out the first 5 obvious ideas, you have to engage in some proper workshopping.
And one of the most critical tips here is about forcing intellectual transparency.
What do you mean by that?
You should always ask the LLM to break down its thinking. For example, explain the logic of that idea step by step.
Why is that so important?
Because it helps you validate the model's underlying assumptions. If the model suggests a project based on data you don't actually have, well, the idea is immediately flawed. Seeing the breakdown stops you from wasting time on it.
Okay, and once you have that initial idea, you can't just leave it there.
No, you have to cultivate it. That's where the iterative follow-up comes in. Ask the LLM to expand on ideas with pointed questions.
So don't let it stay abstract.
Right. Ask things like, what are the 3 biggest technical challenges to implementing this accelerate feature? Or how would this optimized idea interact with our existing legacy systems? Get into the weeds.
And the final tip really reinforces that the best ideas aren't going to come from a single prompt.
No, you have to engage in a genuine back-and-forth conversation to really workshop these ideas. You're treating the LLM like a persistent, tireless brainstorming partner that can recall the whole context of your conversation.
It should feel like a high-level strategic review.
Exactly. Pushing the model to refine and even critique its own suggestions until you have these fully fleshed-out ideas that are ready for an executive review.
So let's bring all this back together for you. We really wanted to translate that general AI enthusiasm into an actual actionable plan. And the key takeaway, I think, is that successful Gen AI strategy requires you to define your intent, your mode, whether it's optimize, accelerate, or transform, before you generate a single project idea.
That defined intent acts as the strategic lens. Every project has to be viewed and justified through it.
Correct. And using this structured approach, especially those targeted prompts for each mode, gives you a wealth of powerful ideas. And that's step 2, done.
But this leaves us facing the next major hurdle. Step 3, prioritization.
Right. Because now you have dozens of ideas. You have efficiency gains, product enhancements, maybe even a moonshot new venture.
So if you connect this to the bigger picture, the next critical task is defining your objective criteria for evaluation. You have to create that scoring mechanism.
A matrix.
A matrix that objectively weighs factors like technical feasibility, investment, organizational readiness, and most importantly, quantified business impact. That's what helps you choose which of these fantastic ideas is the one to actually bet on.
Building that bridge between the brainstorming and the disciplined execution.
That is the ultimate test of strategy.
Something essential to chew on as you start defining your own generative AI modes. We'll see you on the next deep dive.